Do you feel stuck in your life or maybe part of your business? Maybe life's kicked you in the teeth a little bit and it really wasn't your fault, but you're sitting here blaming yourself. Like, how did I get here? Why did this happen to me? And how am I going to get out of it? And do I need to make a change? Well, I'm Brian Cristiano, the top business strategist, high performance coach, self-made entrepreneur, and the creator of boldceo. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to get unstuck and stop questioning yourself so you can be your fullest potential. Stick to the end because I'm going to give you some actionable steps on how to make change right now. Listen, I'm Brian Cristiano, and I have been stuck. 18 years ago, I was living on a couch. And, it's the worst feeling when you're in this position that you didn't create. Like, sometimes stuff happens, right? Like, maybe you're in a bad relationship. Maybe you took the wrong partner in business. Maybe, a deal just went south. Maybe there's something else that just happened that was totally out of your control. Like you weren't intentionally trying to put yourself in a bad situation. You weren't intentionally trying to make bad decisions, but here you are. Like stuff is not where it should be and definitely not where it could be. Like, look, I've been there before. It's the self-doubt. It's like blaming yourself, right? 18 years ago, I was living on a couch because my business was falling apart. Because we had a client that didn't pay, and at the time it was like, it really genuinely wasn't my fault. We tried to do all the right things, but it just wasn't working out. But the thing is I ended up staying on the couch for much longer than I really wanted to because, I kept giving those outside reasons attention. I kept looking at, why did this happen? How come this client didn't pay? I keep calling them. I keep trying to, I'm talking to lawyers and nothing's moving, nothing's happening. And I'm just sitting here feeling bad for myself, sitting on this stupid couch. And like life is just passing me by. And honestly, at that point in time in my life, like I felt like, this was it. This was over. Like, I tried it. I tried business. This wasn't for me, right? I was questioning myself every single day. I'm sitting there like confused, full of self-doubt. I guess I'm not really made to build a business. I guess it's because I don't have a business degree. I guess it's because my family doesn't come from money. I guess it's because we grew up broke. Like, all these questions and all these reasonings that kept coming into my head. I was like so frustrated. I was like trying to search for like some other thing that I should be doing. Blaming all these reasons, these people, the business. It's like, I know what it feels like to be stuck. And to be asking yourself these incessant questions. And the thing is, right, in hindsight, I was asking the questions, and you're probably asking these questions of yourself because you want to improve, you want to grow, you want to understand what's wrong. But here's the deal, okay? The first thing that you have to recognize is it might not actually be your fault, okay? Like sometimes shit happens. In that case, right, like this client didn't pay, and they should have, and it put us in a bad position. Like that wasn't my fault. Okay. So that's the first thing is you got to go like, okay, is part of this, at least part of this, like outside of my control? It was for me. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing. We're just looking at that. Just looking at the thing that happened that was outside of your control, simply for the fact to give yourself grace. Not to go, oh, see, it was out of my control. There's nothing I can do. Because I would guess you're not watching this YouTube video, whatever you typed in to find this. I bet you're not watching this because you're like, yeah, I just want to sit here on the couch and blame myself and point the finger and feel sorry for myself. I guarantee you that's not why you're here, right? You want to improve, you want to grow, you want to be better. You know that you're better than this. Like I knew that I was better than that, but I didn't really understand why I was there. But so the thing was I was spending more energy beating myself up mentally than I was actually progressing to get off of the couch. And so the first thing is to recognize like, okay, maybe this genuinely isn't all my fault. It was out of my control, right? I was talking to a client the other day who was like, listen, I think I need to change paths in life. I think I need to do something differently. And I said, why? And then he's telling me about, these two major instances that happened where he got totally taken advantage of. Somebody stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from him, right? This other business deal went sour. Turns out these people were like, really toxic, really bad people. And they were blaming him for the reasons that's going on. And by the way, this person that I was coaching, that I was advising, is a very successful person, like multimillionaire, right? So he's already made it. He's already successful. But because these things happened to him that were outside of his control, he's starting to question, like, I think I might need to change. Maybe I'm no good at this anymore. I've been doing it for 30 years. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to go into a different business, a different industry. See, the thing is when we got to the bottom of it, like the people in these two transactions that he was dealing with were very toxic individuals. Toxic. And what do toxic people do? They blame you. Right? See, when that client didn't pay 18 years ago, that put us in a really bad spot, they blamed us. We delivered on everything that we were supposed to do, but they still blamed us. They found something that they didn't like that they could just keep pointing to, even though it wasn't true, to go, oh, yeah, well, we're not paying our bill because of this. Now, I can say here 18 years later, we did everything that we promised and way more. I always have, right? So they were totally in the wrong. Just like this client, right? This person who basically took money from him and didn't repay him, and then blamed him and said, you know what? You're not helping me out here. You're making my life miserable. Whoa, holy crap. Really? Like this person gave somebody else, loaned somebody else money, and then was told, you're making my life harder. You're not here to help me. And then refused to repay them. Why? Because it's a toxic individual. They are there to absorb, take everything from you. I've been in that position multiple times. I've had to learn this lesson the hard way multiple times, that there are actually people in this freaking world, believe it or not, that genuinely want to take everything they can from you, right? They're this like vicious circle of energy that just sucks everything in. They just want more and more and more, and they take and take and take because they feel that they're entitled. And they act nice. They might act even innocent. These people might even act like they're your best friend or somebody that actually cares about you. But underneath it all, they really don't. They're just there to take advantage of you. Unfortunately, a lot of those people exist. And the longer that you're around, the longer that you're in business, the longer that you live, the more of those people, unfortunately, you're going to bump into. Now, the thing, though, is, right, like, that had to happen to me a few different ways in my life before I realized, like, what these toxic people do and how they act and how they chameleon themselves to trick you, right? Because I questioned myself for a long time, like, man, like, maybe there's something wrong with me. I had to try harder and harder. I felt like I just had to give more and more and more. And then they just took more and more and more, right? But I had to wake up and realize one day that it really wasn't me, right? That there are people out there that don't have your best interest at heart. Quite the opposite, okay? So the thing is, we're not using that as an excuse, because I would still be on the couch if I used that as an excuse, that it was the client's fault, that it was this toxic person's fault, that it was this other issue out there. Wasn't me. See, I couldn't just point the blame, because then I'd still be on the couch. What I had to do is I had to go, you know what? There were things, there was person, there was people, there was toxicity that genuinely was working against me. That's true. Okay. And what I used it for, write this down, is I used it to give myself grace. To say, like, you know, it's okay that you feel like shit right now. It's okay that this doesn't feel good right now. It's okay that, you know, things aren't working out right now because you were put in a bad position, right? This toxic person did stuff and said things and lied to you and blamed you for the problems that they created. Give yourself grace so that you can say, okay, well, you know, it's not me. Or at least that part of it's not me, right? And so it's about giving yourself grace, like figuring out like what was outside of your control that happened, that created the circumstance or made the circumstance worse, okay? Just to give yourself grace so you can stop beating yourself up every single day, right? That's step number one. And then step number two is to then do the opposite and say, okay, what is my fault? What can I control? Or what can I take control of? But the thing is, and the most important step, the third thing I will tell you, is that you need to ask different and better questions. Because most of us ask questions like this when we're going through hard times. Oh man, why did this happen to me? You know, am I good enough? Should I be doing something different? Should I make a change? You know, maybe am I not meant for this? Do I need to get educated more? Do I need to do something differently? Did I, you know, am I just past my expiration date or my skill set? Right? Like, am I not a good person? We ask questions like that, and then we start to ask other questions. Right? Like, how am I going to get out of this? how am I going to change this? How am I going to get the money? How am I going to get off the couch? How am I going to change my career? How am I going to fix my relationship? And we ask those questions, but here's the deal. All of those create a negative space in your mind. It brings the questions that we ask focus us, right? The questions focus us. So if we're asking our questions like, well, am I really meant for this? Am I good enough? Can I fix this? Our brain's going to start to create self-doubt. We're going to start to get confused. We're going to start to feel frustrated, right? We're going to start to blame ourselves, okay? It starts this cycle. And then we ask how questions, which are terrible, because how am I going to get out of this? What does that create? A ton of overwhelm. How am I going to get out of this? Holy crap. Like, that's a lot to figure out, isn't it? Like, how am I going to change this? How am I going to turn the business around? Those are intense questions that put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Now, pressure is good, but not in this circumstance, right? When you're blaming yourself, when you're questioning yourself, when you're stuck, you got to stop it. And you have to ask better questions. Okay, so what are better questions? Okay, well, what can I learn from this so next time this doesn't happen? See, that was one of the first questions when I met someone that I really looked up to and was telling him about this situation 18 years ago, and I was still on the couch. And he said to me, look, Brian, you got to ask yourself some better questions, right? It's not about why you're on the couch or why that happened or why that client didn't pay, or how you're going to change all this, because that's a lot. But you got to ask a better question. What about that situation? What can you learn from it? What can you take from it so next time it never happens? And you know what that did? It got me to think productively. It got me to think about well, what can I learn? What is the lesson? What can I change? And guess what? That actually changed the way I did contracts, contrary to how all of the lawyers and attorneys typically in the big ad agencies tell you to write a contract. I changed some things differently so that it would never happen again. We changed the way we build so it never happened again. And 18 years later, I can tell you it never happened again. Not like that. So it ended up, in hindsight, being, wow, that was a really powerful lesson. But had I continued to ask the wrong questions, I'd still be on the couch today. I'd still be ruminating. I'd still be thinking about it. I'd still be beating myself up and wondering if, what, how. So take a breath and ask a better question. What can I learn from this situation so it doesn't happen again? Right? If you're dealing with a toxic person like this client was, so, well, okay, well, now you know that's what a toxic person does. Now you know how they manipulate. Now you know their tactics. So what can you do with that information so that it doesn't happen again? Right? And he started to think. He's like, wow, that's actually really true because, I'm going to be so much better with people now. I'm going to be able to see, right, when people are trying to manipulate me. Now I know when people say this and they do another thing, right? When they say one thing, but they're doing another, right? By the way, that's a big red flag in any relationship, business or personal. When somebody's telling you who they are, telling you what they do, but then you see them act a different way. That's the biggest red flag, by the way, just as a side note for yourself. It's one I had to learn. It's one this client had to learn. But guess what? Once you learn it, well, now you can never not see that. Now you see that pattern. It's added into your recognition in your brain, and you're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't match. Something's wrong here. See, before that, you were like, I must be doing something wrong because they're acting differently. See, that's how people that are good, that's how people like yourself, get stuck in a business situation, a personal situation where you get taken advantage of because you go, oh, they're acting inappropriately, or something went wrong, or they're, angry at me, or they're telling me I'm the problem. And I've logically thought about it because maybe I am, right? We have to take a second and go, am I? Maybe not, or maybe not entirely. And if that's the case, then you got to say, okay, well, if I'm not entirely, and some of this is on them, but they're blaming me, and they're saying one thing and acting another way, ooh, that's a serious red flag. Something is wrong with them, okay? So that's the thing. It's like we can take these major super powerful lessons from this experience that otherwise we wouldn't have had we not gone through it. Okay, and then another question that you can ask yourself, a more powerful question is, okay, what do I have? What can I give? What can I do that's going to be helpful right now, right? So I was telling that client because he was feeling so beat up, and I said, okay, well, what's a strength of yours? And he listed a couple strengths. I said, great, that's awesome. I said, how by having that strength, how's that going to help you in this next business endeavor? And then he listed a few reasons. I said, that's phenomenal. Look at that. And I said, are you feeling differently? He's like, well, yeah, I am actually. Why? Because I've literally got his brain to look at the situation differently. Instead of going like, why has this happened? Am I good enough? Do I need to change it all? Right? Starting to question ourselves, feeling just totally stuck, feeling overwhelmed, feeling confused. Instead of that, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I do have a good attribute. Oh, I can do this, right? And then the last thing I will tell you is this, and this is the most immediate change. Whatever you're going through, no matter what the circumstance is that you feel stuck in, I want you to do this right now. I want you to sit down and write this out if you got paper, or just think it if you're just listening to this, and put down one thing, come up with one thing, one simple thing, not complex, simple thing that you can do right now, that would at least take a step towards changing your situation. It's usually the simplest thing. Sometimes it's, I got to pick up the phone. You know what? I'm going to go get off the couch and walk around. I'm going to go send that email. I'm going to say no to that person that keeps asking me for all this energy that I don't have to give. What's the one little thing, one thing that you know you can do? There's no question. You're like, I can do it. And I know what you're thinking, because this is what I used to think. It'd be like, but it's so irrelevant. No, it's not irrelevant. Because here's where you are. Here's where you want to go. Okay? A fractional step in this direction is still a step in this direction. But not doing anything about it, small or big, thinking about all the big things that you need to do, keep you stuck here. Take a small step. Something small, something tangible that you can do. Oftentimes it's pick up the phone, send the email, say the thing that needs to be said, go to the meeting, right? Apply for the job, hire the person, whatever it is. It's something simple. Just say yes, just say no. Whatever it is for you, whatever your situation where you're feeling stuck, and I'm sorry that you're feeling stuck right now, put down one thing that you can do right now to make a major change. Small step though, towards a major change. And then the last thing that I'm going to give you, and this was one of the most powerful things that's changed my entire life. Every time I ever feel stuck, because every once in a while I still feel stuck, don't get me wrong, to this day. When I feel really stuck, I remind myself, where am I trying to go? Where am I trying to go? Okay? And I write it down on a sticky note. Like something simple, few words, right? Like if it's a business goal, it might just be a revenue number. If it's a personal goal, it might, be a trip or, a certain thing, or just a philosophical thing that I'm trying to accomplish. Whatever it is. What am I really trying to accomplish right now? Write it down on a sticky note. It's got to be that simple, so it can be on a sticky note, okay? And I put that on the right side of my computer monitor or my laptop, right? So moving to the right. And then I put on another sticky note that says, far away. And I put it on the left side of the computer monitor, or the left side of the laptop. So I'm staring at this every day. And in the middle, I put another sticky note that says, what you're doing right now, which direction is it taking you? And then there's an arrow both ways. What it did was every single day, and I still do this sometimes, when I'm feeling stuck or when I'm really where I really need to motivate myself every single day to get a goal. It can be anything. It can be a big goal. It can be a small goal. It can be the small step. It doesn't matter what this is. What I'm showing you is this. You need to get something done or something accomplished, or you need to get somewhere, whatever that means to you. Write that down so it's in your face every single day. And then write down far away. Okay? And then in the middle is what I'm doing right now, taking me closer or farther away. Because we're always doing something, and not doing anything, sitting on the couch is doing something. It's doing nothing, taking me further away from the goal, taking me further away from building a business, taking me further away from getting out of debt and off the couch and turning my life around. And I lived on the couch for almost a year. But then once I started to understand this, and I started to make some of these changes, and I started to take some action, and I started to go really hardcore. And by the way, I wasn't lazy. I wasn't just sitting on the couch not working every day. I was working 10 hours a day, trying to turn it around. It was like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards every single day. I was getting nowhere. But when I realized is I was just asking all the wrong questions. So I was ruminating in my head all day. I'm like, man, how am I going to change this? How am I going to get out of debt? How am I going to turn the business around? How am I going to get off the couch? And it was too overwhelming for me to really focus in on what do I need to do right now that's going to get me off the couch and build this $1 million company. It was too overwhelming. Like the steps that I started to take were simple. I just needed to get in front of the right people that I needed to do business with. And so when I didn't want to do it, I would just look at those sticky notes and I go, is what I'm doing right now taking me closer or further away? No, I need to go and take a meeting right now. I need to go out and go to that industry event tonight. But I don't want to. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But by allowing myself to stay on the couch that night, I would go, it's taking me further away. And I don't want to get further away. Because to me at that point, like further away was a very dark place. And hopefully you're not in a very dark place. But this works at any level. We've got to ask ourselves better questions. We've got to find the thing in all of it. Even if most of it was our fault. There's something, maybe the timing of it, maybe another part, whatever it is. We got to find something that we can go, well, that was out of my control. Not to blame it, but to give ourselves grace. So we can say, I got to stop beating myself up here. And then ask ourselves better questions. And then get clear on some sort of goal, some sort of target, and some sort of next step that's easy, that's simple to attain, that you can do right now. And then use the sticky notes so that every single day you're looking at this and reminding yourself of what direction you're going. What are you doing right now? Is it taking you there or is it taking you away? I hope this helps. I hope this helps you get unstuck, stop questioning yourself, and I hope you get where you want to go. And if this was helpful to you, look in the description. I've got a link to my website, boldceo. You can talk to my team anytime, book a call with my team. And we'll see what we can do to help you out in your life and in your business. And I hope that you have the most successful, most incredible life that you could ever have. And I hope that you get unstuck and you stop beating yourself up and you stop questioning yourself because you're greater than this. You're better than this. You deserve more than this. So stop questioning yourself. Ask better questions to start to get unstuck. Now go be bold.